George Harrison's son once named his favorite song by the Beatles. George Harrison's son, Danny Harrison, has spoken about many of the former Beatles songs. He revealed his favorite song made by his father, Run of the Mill, which reflects many of the Beatles' internal issues, and it's a song that George Harrison released on 1970 on his triple album, All Things Must Pass. Harrison wrote the song shortly after the Beatles' troubled Get Back sessions in early 1969, during a period when his growth as a songwriter had inadvertently contributed to the dysfunction within the Beatles group dynamic. The lyrics reflect the toll that running their company Apple Corp had taken on relationships within the band, especially between Paul and the other three Beatles, as well as Harrison's dismay at John Lennon's emotional withdrawal from the band. Commentators recognize Run of the Mill as one of several Harrison compositions that provide an insight into events behind the Beatles' breakup, particularly the difficulties surrounding Apple. Harrison had temporarily quit the Beatles in January 1969, disillusioned with their fraught sessions after witnessing the domestic bliss of the band and their home studio setup in Woodstock the previous November. What he saw in New York suggested a cooler, more democratic process was possible. The tensions in which he was mired at the time bore a handful of songs that were once spiteful yet contemplative, including I, Me, Mine, and Wah Wah. Run of the Mill is similarly probing. Ironically, its lyrics were first scrawled across an envelope from Apple, the company that would irrevocably tear the group apart over differences of opinion regarding its management. A few weeks after Paul had announced to the world in April 1970 that the Beatles had split, Harrison was in New York to discuss starting work on a solo album with Phil Spector, playing the producer Run of the Mill and a selection of songs he earmarked for it. While the majority of Run of the Mill is purportedly aimed at McCartney, the song also serves as a cautionary tale of owning one's actions. No one around you will carry the blame for you, George sings. No one around you will love you today and throw it all away. Listen to All Things Must Pass 50th Anniversary Edition here. Move It On Over, Hank Williams goes, Jazz Late Starter, Willie Nelson makes his Grand Ole Opry debut, My Bucket's Got a Hole in It, Hank Williams, Ricky Nelson, and more. In late May, sessions for the new album began with Spector at Abbey Road Studios in London, while the resulting triple LP, All Things Must Pass, starred a sprawling list of musicians and guests. The core team was drafted in by Harrison from Delaney and Bonnie's All-Star Group, with whom he and Eric Clapton had briefly toured in 1969. In Spector's hands, Run of the Mill, which had started out as a rustic acoustic rumination, was built up into a multi-layered and melodically sanguine anthem. It was unique the way he worked, said keyboardist Billy Preston, also present at these sessions. He would use a lot of keyboards playing the same chord to make it big and strong. We would do it several times in different octaves, and it was monotonous as hell. But he was making the Phil Spector sound. Myself, I never really was a fan of his sound, but with George's stuff, it was perfect, said Preston. All Things Must Pass was released in November 1970 and reached the top of the UK album charts, where it stayed for 6 weeks. Though its subject matter was dominated by deeply spiritual reflections, it was with Run of the Mill that, compared to the veiled slandering and song by his bandmates, The Quiet Beatle, offered the starkest insight into the problems with partnerships in the group's grisly end. You got me wondering how I lost your friendships, he offers to them, but I see it in your eyes. In 2001, just 9 months before he died, George selected Run of the Mill as a favorite cut from All Things Must Pass. It's just something about the words and what it's saying, he reasons. Similarly, it is a song that means the most to his widow, Olivia. It's really a beautiful song, she said. Its lyrics are very inspiring. It's you that decides which way you will turn, and always a lovely reminder of him. George Harrison's son, Danny Harrison, shared that his favorite song made by his father was Run of the Mill. Do you have a favorite song created by Harrison? Let us know in the comment section below. The song's release coincided with a falling out between Harrison and McCartney, which contributed to the latter taking legal action to dissolve the Beatles' partnership. The musical arrangement for Run of the Mill bears the influence of the band, with whom Harrison had spent time in Woodstock before starting work on the Get Back project, co-produced by Phil Spector. The recording features contributions from Gary Wright and former members of Delaney and Bonnie's Friends band, including Jim Gordon, Jim Price, and Bobby Whitlock. In I, Me, Mine, Harrison introduces these words with a reference to McCartney's heavy-handedness at Apple and likens the scene to a Monty Python comedy routine. In the lyrics to Run of the Mill, author Ian Ingalls notes that rather than exacerbating the poisonous atmosphere that hangs over the group by merely adding to the endless stream of insults and counter-insults, Harrison shows genuine regret as what has transpired and warns against trying to shift the blame for one's actions. Another biographer, Joshua Green, suggests that partly through his association with the Hare Krishna movement, Harrison was now too sure of his life's higher purpose to waste any more time on petty squabbles. The theme of failed or betrayed friendship in Lang's words is most evident midway through the third verse, with the lines, "You've got me wondering how I lost your friendship, but I see it in your eyes." Doggett interprets this statement as reflecting Harrison's decaying relationship with McCartney at the time. Lennon, too, had been a friend of Harrison's since their school days, and Lang included him as a source of Harrison's mini bereavement at the Beatles' impending demise. Along with Wah Wah, Isn't It a Pity, and Apple Scruffs, Lang cites Run of the Mill as contributing to its parent album status in the Beatles' history. Namely, that All Things Must Pass was the first installment of the inside story about being caught in that Kafkaesque chain of events. Further, Harrison compositions serving as episodes in what Lang calls the Beatles soap opera include Sue Me, Sue You Blues, Who Can See It, and Living In. So, what are your thoughts on today's video? Please let us know in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our incredible videos. Keep an eye out for the next video. Bye for now.